We are so excited to have you, Beth, for our pre-show taping for the 2024 Travel Goods Show. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about the show.
So Beth, you're an industry analyst specifically for accessories and travel goods and footwear and other things. You're a professional. You have all sorts of industry experience. Tell me about yourself, an overview of your background, and what it is that you do on behalf of the industry.
Well, my background, I actually started in retail, going through executive training programs and into a couple of buying roles. But then after I went back to school, I knew I wanted to get back into some form of retail. And I came to NPD, which was what our company was known as back then prior to a recent merger. Um, and really got to focus on the retail and the consumer insights behind what was happening in a number of different industries. And as you mentioned, I do cover a few different industries. In the past, I was working in apparel a little bit, but right now I mostly focus on the footwear, fashion accessories, and travel goods categories.
Was there something that drove you into this direction? Was there a passion? What was the origin of that experience and what you're doing?
When I was in retail, I really liked the consumer insights behind the decisions we'd make, whether, we're planning to buy a product and put it in all stores or just put it in stores in a certain region or at a certain time. And I really enjoyed understanding what were the reasons for that, the demographics, the consumer insights behind the decisions that we made. So that's why I looked for a career that focused more on that big picture piece.
It's so important to have the data. The data-driven decision making will help industries, help manufacturers, and even retailers in some degree to really hone in what it is that they need depending on the market trends. Can you give us a sneak peek? I know that the data for 2023 is probably still coming in, but can you give us a sneak peek as to what it is that you'll be presenting at the upcoming show?
Well, I always like to start with the big picture because one of the benefits of working at NPD and now Circana is that we have insights across a number of different industries, both general merchandise, which are industries like the fashion categories, toys, tech, beauty, as well as food and consumer packaged goods. So we really have a good indication of how consumers are spending. And that's been extremely important, of course, in the past couple of years. So I always start with a big picture, cross industry, what's happening, what are the industries and categories that are doing well, because that tells us a lot about then what is happening in our own industry and why sales may be great or maybe not so great. So I start there. And then I will go into a comprehensive review of the travel goods space over the past year and how is that market evolving and what are the opportunities. And we'll close it out with just what do I expect for the coming year and beyond? What are the opportunities in the space?
We have retailers, we have manufacturers, we have content creators coming.
Yep.
Tell us the target audience that would be ideal for this kind of presentation.
All of that. So we work with both manufacturers and retailers. We have partnerships with retailers, and that's how we get a lot of our data. So, we get other data via consumer surveys and other methodology, but our core data actually comes from partnerships with retailers. So we've got close relationships there. And then we work with the manufacturers to help them understand the insights and make business decisions.
So you've presented at previous travel goods shows.
Mm-hmm.
You're an industry veteran. You've traveled all over, and you do these keynote type of presentations. Tell us what you'll be doing specifically at this upcoming show.
So I will be holding a keynote. It will be really focused on those topics that I just talked about. And then that will lead into a panel with other industry experts about what's happening in travel and the travel goods space. So I'm really looking forward to that. I like doing those combined, a little bit of a presentation and a little bit of a discussion. I feel like audiences tend to respond to that as well.
This is a panel, this is a keynote that has a lot of interest in the industry. Part of it because we've gone through just the travel industry specifically has gone through a really challenging time over the past 3 years. So a lot of people attending the show are really interested to see what the data is saying right now. I would love to know some of your your travel go-to products. What are some of the items as you travel you just cannot live without?
I do really enjoy traveling. So when I do, either for leisure or for business, I definitely need to have my travel cube. I don't put everything in travel cubes, but I need at least one to put in those small items that, other than that, get lost in the bag. I've got a great compartmentalized toiletry case, and I hate to admit, another thing I guess I hate to admit for the industry is that I've had the same one for like 25 years. It's like indestructible. So another thing, about innovation and products that last, another theme there. Definitely a backpack. I'm definitely a backpack person. Over the shoulder does not work for me anymore. And we've seen that both with, people commuting and traveling. Backpacks are super important. For more adventurous leisure travel that I do in the summer, I always have a watertight pouch for my phone because I don't want to miss, any photos. And then I would say the portable phone charger, which is more important now because, my phone's a couple of years old and the battery life is dwindling a bit. But interestingly, the charger is actually from my carry-on suitcase. And obviously that was kind of a new innovation over, the past, maybe 7 years ago. I, along with probably of 90% of consumers that we surveyed about this, don't necessarily think that's a particularly important feature for luggage. However, it comes in very handy as a separate item.
I have a question now. As an industry analyst, what your observation is with the changing consumer buying trends, where brick and mortar was a predominant way that consumers would buy and still do buy. However, with the online marketplaces just popping up and being so prevalent, and now content creators being kind of added into that mix, I would love to hear your observations about what that looks like and any trends or things that you're seeing that maybe you can give us some insight on.
Yeah, that's definitely been one of the major trends of the last, I would say, 10 years. And it took a little while to catch on in the travel goods space. That was always a little bit more store dependent. But over the last few years, particularly, the pandemic just allowed, there wasn't a lot of luggage purchasing going on during the pandemic, but for other categories allowed consumers to get much more comfortable with purchasing online. So now we really see that increase happening in the travel goods space as well. That's not to say that brick and mortar is not important. It still does represent the bulk of the business, and it will continue to do so. But it's about the ease and the convenience of that shopping online, particularly if you're buying these bigger items that you're not necessarily then going to carry home with you. It's very convenient to have them shipped directly to you. Of course, the advent of a lot of the digital native brands has driven that as well. But a lot of those brands now are moving into more brick and mortar, not in a very large scale, but it's understood that it's really a holistic picture. You've got the online business, you've got the brick and mortar business. They need to complement each other. A lot of progress has been made in that space over the last few years across industries, but we still need to continue to do more. That experience needs to be the same for the consumer, whether they want to interact online or in the store. So that's important. So how do we bring in some of that convenience more into store, but more of the things that people like about stores to the online experience, like the touching and feeling, the really rich video and photography to kind of imitate what you get in the store.
So what impact are content creators having in the buying experience?
Creators really are great at the storytelling, which, then becomes just part of the overall message. Brands are operating in this world across channels, both physical and digital. And the content creators can help to really tell that story, that comes mostly digital, but it can feed into stores as well and be brought into the experience. And it is hard, particularly if you're selling your products through a wholesale environment, through third-party retailers. It is really hard to have everything look and feel the way you want it versus what you have available to you, on your own website or if you have your own stores. So the content that is on social media can really, be that bridge and really focus on the message beyond just the product. A lot of the more successful travel brands over the last few years have really focused on that experience of travel and making that better and easier, rather than, it's important definitely to focus on the features and benefits and how that's going to make your trip better, rather than, here I'm just trying to sell you a suitcase.
At the show, there's a lot happening with brands, manufacturers, right, and retailers, content creators, suppliers. What are you looking for at the show? Are you looking for any type of collaboration opportunities? Tell me, what is it? What is it that you might be looking for at the show?
So I'm looking to meet folks from brands and retailers and network, of course. But also, I'm really super excited to see what's out there in terms of the innovation and newness, which just helps me be better in the role that I play. With travel having mostly recovered from the pandemic, that natural boost that we've now seen to the travel goods space for the past couple of years, because people were getting back to travel and hadn't bought luggage in a while, that's mostly behind us. So now, brands and retailers really need to work harder to drive that demand with, really cool and innovative products and marketing. And like I said before, the functionality has become so important. So, I'm really just looking forward to, to seeing what's new. And then bringing some insights to the brands and manufacturers and creators that are at the show as well.
This has been really helpful. I don't want to give away everything that you might be talking about at the show, because again, this is going to be a valuable keynote that you're going to be presenting at, and the panel discussion that follows. I do want to ask just two more questions. If people want to find you, how can they contact you or reach out, maybe before the show or afterwards online?
Well, you can always find me on LinkedIn or email me directly at Beth.Goldstein at Circana.com. I'm also on X, that's BL Goldstein 0. But you can also check out Circana.com. As I mentioned earlier, when I had first joined the company was NPD. Circana was formed in the last year as NPD merged with IRI, which was a very prominent market insights firm in the grocery and the consumer packaged goods space. So we are now, one company, and that allows us to get to such these cross-industry insights. But while folks may have heard the NPD or the IRI names in the past, so the Circana name will sound new, but the company's the heritage and the deep insights have been there a long time.
Is there anything that you've learned in your travel experience that any wisdom that you would like to impart?
Understanding the trends and how people are traveling and why people are traveling, maybe for different reasons now, and that's going to impact the types of products that they need. So that's some of the things that the industry needs to be thinking about.
I look forward to attending the panel, the keynote, because there's so much wisdom that I just gained. I know at the show there's going to be so much more that you're going to share with us and that we're going to gain and learn from. So Beth, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you at the upcoming show in March.